So, first of all, my name is Tatiana, and I am so happy to be here. This is a dream coming true. When I was younger, my dad and I used to pretend we were radio presenters, and he would get me to sing and just give general jokes and general updates about my life as a 3-year-old. He used to record them and on a cassette and then send it to our family back in Angola. Beautiful memories. And now this show is a reality. So I'm so happy that the FMB radio has taken me in because this is honestly a dream coming true. And I think that everyone wants to see their dreams come true. The second thing I want to get off my chest is it's bank holiday. So it's bank holiday Monday, and I'm so happy because I just came away from a wonderful weekend with my family in Huddersfield, and I'm missing them already. So if you guys are listening through Huddersfield, I love you guys. Love you, love you, love you, love you. Thank you so much for hosting me and my little family. We enjoyed the sun and the great food and just the general company. So thank you, fam. So finally, to all of you tuning in today, if you have any questions, comments, please feel free to slide on my DMs on Instagram. And you can find me on at Fairy Queen Tatiana or send it to at FMB Radio so you can just speak to me. So I will be introducing to you various guests. But first, let's get started. So, my first guest today, she's an amazing woman. I used to work with her before. Her name is Shilpa, and she is gladly here to organize and just be an amazing person to be on the show. But before I delve into why is she motivated, what does she bring to the table in a personal life, I just want to talk about my personal motivation. So, as some of you may know my voice already, so I am the host of Fairy Queen Talks, where I talk about things about self-reflection, self-awareness, and general happiness and where I'm in my life right now. And one of the things I've been very intentional about in the past year or so is what do I want for my future? What do I want to achieve? And I am a very much of a planner. I write everything down. And a lot of the things that I've written down have come to fruition. And also things that I haven't thought about before have also happened. One of those things was starting my podcast. I've been wanting to do this for a very, very long time. But different things in life stopped me. For example, I've got work, I've got studies, too busy hanging out with friends. So you're not really busy with pursuing your own dreams. So different things may have been an excuse or stopped me from actually pursuing what I wanted to do. But when lockdown happened, things just changed. The whole world stopped. And with the world stopping, I think parts of me were able to start. And starting a podcast during the lockdown has been such a blessing. First, I'm a mother of two, and it gave me an hour or two to just escape from my everyday reality and escape into this world where I can really focus and think about things that, draw attention and make me think. And some of those things were about personal development, about how to be more productive. But as things became more political and last year, just a lot of injustice happening, I knew that I had to bring my voice to that as well. So being silent is something that I don't want to do, but I can only speak on things that I know to be true and understand. So when it came to being Black in the world or being a Black mother, those are the things I can speak to. So that's what I also bring into the podcast. And a lot of you have been enjoying it through Anchor, through Spotify, and also now you're listening to it on FMB Radio. And it's just amazing to hear all the great feedback because it's such an amazing feeling when you create something and other people, notice it, listen to it, and enjoy it. So when I first started my podcast, I thought, even if I just get one listener, even if it's just one listener, I will definitely continue. And lo and behold, it's been over a year and I've had over 1,000 downloads and people just listening from all around the world. And this is such an amazing feeling to know that you can speak something in your bedroom or in your house and people all around the world can tune into that. So I'm just going to check on the social media. So if you have anything to say, please feel free to send me a message on the DMs. Okay, so it seems, thank you. I just got a message. People are, seeing this on Instagram. So I am live on Instagram and live here on the radio. So thank you. Thank you very much. So a little bit about my guest today. So my guest today was a colleague. So in my professional life, I work as a EDI, sorry, as an EDI advisor. So EDI stands for Equality, Diversity, and Inclusion. And I advise on something that is very hard to speak about for some people, and it's race. So when this colleague of mine joined the team, she came as a race consultant. She has 30 years of experience within the field. And it was so great to just shadow her and to learn from her. And because of lockdown and because of the world that we live in, I never actually met this lady before. So I've only seen her through Zoom, or I've seen her through Teams, whatever technology we use at work. And despite the difference of like meeting people, it's incredible how we can still connect, because all of these forms of technology allow us to connect to individuals. And being able to connect to this colleague in particular on the topic of race and being a woman in this industry, the field of equality, is very interesting, because sometimes we feel like the fight has been going on for many years, but to hear the stories of how people fought for justice 30 years ago, in the 80s and in the 90s, it's very different. Recently, I organized an amazing event with my work for Stephen Lawrence Day, and watching a 3-hour documentary about the life of Stephen and how it tragically was ended by people who had nothing else to do but just to interrupt, people's lives. And it was such a cruel way to see someone go, but the impact of, what people felt in that moment when they realized this is not right. In 1993 alone, there were 25 horrible scenarios of people just losing their lives because of injustice and racism. And something like that is not good. And for many, maybe 2020 was the first time where they realized, there's so much injustice, but this injustice has been going on for so many years. It's not just George Floyd, so many other names of incredible people, innocent people who didn't have to go, but went because of hatred. It's not fair. And I think it's us, people who consider themselves to be good, consider themselves to be allies and to do the right thing, should stand up. And because of lots of people standing up, protesting, making sure their voices are heard, a lot of changes have happened. The change in, when it comes to justice doesn't come very quickly. Sometimes it's really slow. And because of the speed, it makes people wonder, is there any change going to happen? But little things have changed. For example, I can walk on the street and feel like a person, when I look back and see other generations, just the color of the skin would make things slightly hard, or people would question, why are you walking here? You should be here. So progress has been made. We need a lot more progress, but a lot of us can live happy lives in certain places in the world. And I'm just grateful to be in a place in the world where I feel that I have freedom to be a person and to be a woman, to be a Black woman, and to have a real sense of pride and a sense of identity. And I think I've learned to embrace that over the last couple of years, just moving around different countries and really understanding who am I as a person. And I'm just so grateful that I'm able to stand here today and to say, you know what, whoever you are amazing and you bring value to this world. And I think bringing on people who think like me, who are highly motivated, is something that I am more than happy to do. So without any more talky from your fair queen, Tatiana, I'd like to introduce to you to my first guest of Tapping into Your Greatness. We have Shilpa Arya. Hi,
Hey,
Shilpa.
Tatiana. Hello.
Hi
How
there.
are you?
How are you feeling today?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for coming on today. It's so nice to see you again on the screen. And I was just telling all the listeners, I have never actually met you in real life,
No.
but I am so happy to have connected with you through technology. So would you like to tell everyone how we met
Oh
before we go
gosh,
to the questions?
yeah. So you were on an interview panel, so that's the first time that we met. When I applied for a post with Nottingham Trent University, and then obviously we met when I joined, and it was all done virtually. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And what was your first impression of me?
Oh, gosh, dude. I think for me it was certainly on the panel, because I've always advocated for having diversity on an interview panel. So to see the range of panelists and from diverse backgrounds, I was really inspired and felt confident in undertaking the interview. But also because obviously you're a lot younger than me, so it was nice to see perhaps that there was a young person on the panel as well. So yeah, that was my first impression.
Thank you. My first impression of you was just someone who's super full of knowledge, and I think the word that came to me is a veteran in justice for me, and it was so amazing to see someone who is a brown woman, a Black woman, and to see that, this work has been done so many years ago. Because sometimes, I was speaking earlier, we sometimes feel that this work of justice and equality is something new, but there have been a lot of people who've been doing this work way before us. And I think it's been great to see you and see that example. And inspiration can be drawn from anything and anyone, but what inspires me is just your longevity, and your stuff, and you bring that seniority to your role. So it's just been amazing to have met you, and hopefully one time I'll be able to see you in real life.
Thank
So,
you.
so this show is all about tapping into your greatness, and I think you definitely do that. You are definitely great at what you do, but there's also other things that are great about you. So my first question to you today is, what and when was the first time in your life that you realized that you were really good at something?
Um, I'm not sure if there's a particular moment in time that I would pin it down to, but I think if I reflect back on life, I think it's those leadership skills that I have. And when I talk about leadership, I kind of see myself as a leader who inspires and um, encourages others to kind of develop and progress, particularly in their careers. So, I think probably the most significant is where I interviewed somebody who was facing redundancy, and they were a kind of supervisor on a refuse collection truck. And I was really inspired and felt that he interviewed really well, although he not had a background in kind of administrative clerical work. I thought, yeah, let's give him the opportunity to kind of, I suppose, turn around his situation from potentially becoming redundant. And actually, this individual kind of developed a career in HR, got their CIPD qualification, and became a successful manager within the organisation that I was in. So that's just one example. But I think it's just encouraging and supporting individuals to kind of develop and progress their careers, and kind of having that kind of leadership style, really.
Thank you for sharing that. And do you think that leadership style has come naturally to you, or is this something that has been, that's how you progressed in your life, where you think, this is how I was able to, climb up the ladders, and this is what I want to give back?
I think partly, and also because of the opportunities that I've had from individuals throughout my life, where I felt that's because of the leadership they've shown, because they've been either in a position of privilege, so white privilege in the main, where they've either inspired me or encouraged me or given me the confidence to kind of go away and do a piece of work. And that's kind of helped me to progress my career. And I kind of left school when I was a teenager, so I left when I was 17. When I started in my career in local government, I had a 6-week contract. And actually, it's through the kind of inspiration and confidence that I had from my managers at the time that I developed and became a HR professional.
Oh, thank you, thank you. So besides the great career that you've had, what are other things that you're really great at that, you know, everyone raves about?
I've often been described as somebody who's quietly confident. So I do bring about challenge, but I think I do it in a way where I persuade people to kind of change, or to see a different way of perhaps doing something. So I don't shy away from challenging, but I suppose it's the approach that I take. And also in terms of my kind of inspiration from my family side, I've certainly been inspired and have um, a lot to thank my parents for. My father was very humble, and my mother was always has been my inspiration. So doing service in the community or doing service is kind of an important part of what I do. So again, that's another thing that I suppose I'd mention.
Ah, thank you, thank you. And would you say your leadership skills and just being able to identify, you know, the greatness in others, do you think that comes from your parents being able to, you know, rear you in such a way where you know you had all the confidence to pursue what you wanted to do?
I'm not sure because I guess I came here to the UK as a Ugandan refugee when I was only 6. So a lot of my education and kind of development and growth professionally wasn't kind of through some anchoring from my parents, because they were from very humble backgrounds. So they came to this country with very little. So they came with, I think it's about £70 that they were allowed to bring. But I think it's just their generosity, and regardless of whether they had money or not, the house was always full of
Yes.
visitors and people. And I think professionally, my inspiration came, as I say, from people who were around me at the time. And I've had really good managers who've always kind of encouraged me and inspired me to kind of progress. But in terms of my kind of, I suppose in terms of how I live my life, that comes from my parents and also from my faith as well in some respects.
Okay, thank you. So bringing back to the young Shilpa moving to the UK, and you see all these amazing people around you, and you know being a great example to you. Did you set any goals of like, you know, this is what I would like to do, or did you gradually just fall into different places?
I don't know if I had. I didn't have goals. I think I wanted to be different things at different times in my life. So, there was a point where I wanted to be a hairdresser, and then there was a point where actually I wanted to be a musician and a singer and all of those things. So I've always had these kind of I don't know, aspirations or dreams of becoming something. I know I always felt that through my education and my teachers particularly, that I was very good at English. I felt very inspired by the kind of feedback they used to give me. So that was something that I always felt confident about. Although I wouldn't say the same about maths, because I never got maths. In fact, I only understood maths when I went to university at Nottingham Trent, in fact it was, when I went to do my IPM, and I had a wonderful teacher. I don't remember his name, but he really taught me maths, and he taught me statistics.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, that's kind of stayed with me throughout my career. So, you know, when I have to do any analysis or analytical work, that's where that comes from. That's statistical knowledge, I guess.
Oh, it's interesting you say that, because one of my modules in my first year of uni was statistics, and I thought I wouldn't enjoy it, but I absolutely loved it. I don't know what it was, because I only stopped doing maths at GCSEs, and I never went back to it because I was always petrified. But yeah, it's a great course. Oh, what you said earlier about the singing, if you were a singer, what genre of
Oh
music would
God,
you get into?
it would be Bollywood, of course. So
Oh my
actually,
goodness.
it would be the golden oldies. So I love my Bollywood films, and as you know, Tatiana, because you've
Yes,
watched some, haven't you, Bollywood films?
yes.
So they all have they're all musicals, most of them. So they all have songs that are connected to the film. So yeah, that would be my genre of music.
Oh, lovely. No, I love Bollywood films. I even love it even more when I go to the cinema and when they
Yeah.
play it, and in the breaks in between, because the movies are so long. I could see you doing a performance, one or two.
I don't think you want to hear it though. I could maybe
Oh,
mime it.
that's good enough. That's what most people do anyway when they're recording
Yeah.
the films. They'll be miming it. Oh, great. So, in terms of your whole life, what are the things that you're most proud of achieving?
Um, I think there are individual moments that I'm kind of very proud of, obviously, and I go back to kind of seeing all those individuals that have kind of been at an assistant level within within my workplace, and actually watching them grow and having careers. So that's certainly something that's I felt really inspired by. There's lots of individuals who've been in a difficult place throughout my life as well. And I hope that I've helped them in some respects to kind of come out of that dark space within their life and come out and kind of become more positive. So that's about that friendship and being there for friends and supporting them. I think also, you know, with my mum, I mean, she went through the last part of her life. She had a period of where she was critically ill, and she was having palliative care, and I felt that I wanted to do that palliative care, and so for me that was something that I feel very very proud of, the fact that, and actually quite privileged as well, to have had the opportunity to take care of her. I didn't feel it was a burden. I didn't feel it was something that was a responsibility or anything like that. And it was a very difficult time for her. She was a very independent woman. She was very, confident. And it was, I suppose for me, it was making sure that whatever I did for her over those kind of 8 months was done in a dignified way, and that gave her respect, even though it was the later stages of her life, really. Yeah. So that's something that I feel very proud of. Um, and I guess being always kind of honest and truthful is
Mm,
something that's really important to me. So making sure that in whatever I do, I am true to myself. Because again, I feel I get very frustrated if I'm in a situation and I feel somewhat compromised or somewhat not able to kind of give myself in a situation.
yes. Oh, it's amazing. I think what you said about, being there for friends in darker times, and, dealing with friends who sometimes have their own mental health, challenges. As a friend, it's easy to just be like, okay, just get on with it, you know, let's just be happy. But I think a good friend will be patient with that person.
Yes.
And it's very important to have supportive friends. And yeah, that's a really good thing. Thank you for sharing that, and about your mum as well. So you said that you moved here with your family, you know, from Uganda, and they've been very humble, and you know, you've worked so hard. What is the driving force, you know, behind your motivation to just strive to be the best at what you do? Because you know, you've excelled in your career, you've raised a beautiful family, you've done all of this hard work, but you know, what drives you to continue to do that for yourself?
There's a number of things that kind of drive us. One is, as I say, kind of that what I don't like to see is adversity or inequality. So I'm always striving to kind of change that. But I also think that everybody deserves a second chance or a third chance or a fourth chance, whatever it might be. And I don't stop counting. So I think that everybody should have a second or a third or fourth, whatever chances they need in life. And so that kind of motivates me to kind of do the work that I do, because I do believe that, you know, that I'm very soul conscious, that we all are, you know, have a beautiful soul, but actually, you know, sometimes we are, because of our circumstances, we're distracted or we digress into different things. But actually, you know, if you look at each individual as a pure soul, then you can almost relate to them always in a positive sense. So that's really important to me, is and that inspires me to do what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think it's a very beautiful you know, way of looking at people as pure souls, because when you do that, you look beyond their human behaviors and just look for them as a person who may be in need, is frustrated and just needs some support, or maybe just a hug. Sometimes it's hard to love or show that or see people as pure souls when they're absolutely challenging people. But there's always some good somewhere, and if we strive to find that, it makes it a lot easier to interact with people and to have that motivation to see people for the good.
I agree with you. I think I see those as obstacles in your way. So it's about so when I experience adversity or adverse behaviour, I always see that as it's challenge. You know, there's a challenge for me to kind of deal with that situation, because it wouldn't it be nice if we were all nice to each other all the time, and you know, but that the world isn't like that. And I suppose it's about how resilient you are and how you cope or deal with those situations. And I also think part of that is about being able to kind of walk away or from those negative situations and actually move into or create a positive space for yourself. Because you can become quite frustrated, you can become bitter, you can become quite angry. And those are things that I don't kind of want to be. So, you know, if I am in those spaces where I feel I'm drifting in that direction, I take myself out of that space and go into a space that's more positive.
Yes, it's interesting you say that, because it draws me back. So I have like you know, I've got two little girls. They're 1 year old, and one of them is learning how to hit pretty well. And my mom said to me, "You have to respond with love." So every time I get a hit, it's like it's responding with love, even though it can be hard sometimes when you get like a physical slap on your face. But I've learned that if you return the slap, it's not going to help the situation. It even makes it worse. So responding and how we respond to others or in adverse situations makes all the difference. It may take a couple of tries, you know, I'd love to fall, but eventually it's, you know, it settles things. So yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks for that.
yeah, I would completely agree with you, and I think that kind of analogy that you've given with your daughters, it's I suppose that we've talked about this before, but as your children get older and they have more complex issues that they're dealing with, I've found myself sometimes angry, and that's not helped. So like I say, if you create a loving environment and a loving response, that it dissipates that anger. And what somebody once told me that if you experience negativity from somebody, whatever vibrations you get, negative vibrations you get from individuals, if you break that with saying something um, like a hello or smiling, that
Yeah.
sometimes dissipates, or it frustrates the hell out of them because they don't understand why you're responding in that way.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked previously about some really difficult times that I've been through, including domestic violence, divorce, and those kind of spaces where it's very toxic. But actually, what I learned from all of those is that you can still be or become that positive person, because otherwise it eats away at you, and you absorb all of that anger and that hate. So I kind of remove myself from that, and actually continue to be positive in all situations. But I think they're all learning experiences as well. So you learn from those situations, and you can actually use your own experience to support others.
Yeah, you brought up a really good point. It makes me question, on the days where you physically and mentally haven't got the capacity to be like, you can be kind, you're just so tired. What do you do, or how do you get yourself or transition to that space where it is more positive? When you say you have those negative vibrations, how do you enter into a place where you have positive vibrations and positive vibes? How do you make that transition if you're having a really, really bad, struggle, challenging day?
So I usually switch off. So switch off from the world. That's the first thing that I'll do. So I'll probably not have any communications at all for that day. And I know that's not possible for everybody, but I kind of switch off. But the other thing that I do is obviously I do meditation and yoga, which are kind of a daily practice, not just because of the situation. So those I kind of maintain as well. I also kind of spend time on reflecting. So I spend quite a lot of time reflecting and daydreaming. So when you were talking about actually, when you think about what is it you want to do next or whatever. So again, I spend a lot of time daydreaming, and I write down positive affirmations. So those sorts of things really.
Oh, thank you. And I know you have an event coming up soon, because you just mentioned about domestic violence, for people to, to find that peace. What would you say to those people who currently, because of this lockdown, they just had a really tough year and they really haven't had the time or opportunity to leave their situations? What would you say to them? How can they get into a positive space in their lives, not just physically, but also mentally? What could they do?
Yeah, I suppose what I wouldn't want to do is kind of advocate for different situations, but obviously my first point would be that domestic violence is never okay, and obviously there are different degrees of it that an individual may be experiencing, and I think that it's important that you get the support that you need. So that's the important thing, is to get support, whether it's from family or friends, or whether it's from professional organisations, but it depends on the kind of extent and severity of it. And actually, if it is very serious, it's about, I suppose, planning and taking steps to kind of remove yourself from that situation. But I think it is very different, and what is very sad is that, you know, often women, I say women because I think it is largely women who experience domestic violence, although, you know, men do as well. And it's kind of, you kind of keep taking steps to think that it will change, or you are coerced into behaving in a particular way, and that you tend to kind of end up losing friends and family as a part of that, and that might mean that you actually are cut off from everything that you used to have as a support structure. So for me, I wouldn't want to advocate one particular way of dealing with that situation, because I think that every situation is different.
Yes.
I hope that individuals would take positive steps to kind of, I suppose, change their situation for the better. And whether that's, as I said, going to friends, family, talking to somebody about it, and taking those steps, but I suppose in a way that's kind of measured and careful, so that you don't put yourself in a situation where you're at risk.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. Over the past year, we had this whole idea of support bubbles, and having a support bubble, or people that you can go to for support, is very important, and maintain those friendships, whether you are in happy times or struggling. Hopefully all of us have got at least one person, you know, that we can go to for support. I know with Facebook we have thousands of friends, but when it comes to real life situations, it's very important to have a tribe. So thanks for sharing that. So when others describe your best traits, what do they usually say about you?
Oh gosh, I'd have to ask other people. I think that one of the recurring messages I get is that you're very calm. So you're very calm, and that you're very confident as well. So those two things I think I always get back, and also generosity as well. My children often say, "Oh, you're not very strict." So I'm not sure if that's a positive or not, but they always describe me as kind of the not so strict mummy, you know. So
that's a good thing. That's a good
thing. Although I don't know whether that means I'm actually a soft touch when it comes to parenting.
Oh, and do you agree with how other people describe you, or does it surprise you sometimes what people say about you, to you?
I think because I've heard it so often, I think that, and it is something that I kind of inspire to be. So it's confirmation of the way that I want to live my life. So if somebody was to say to me, "Oh, you know, that you're very selfish, or that you're very angry," then that would surprise me. Yeah, because that's not what I intend to be or set out to be as an individual.
Oh, thank you. So have you got any favorite motivational quote that you would like to share with us today?
Do you know, I've been thinking about that, and whether there is a particular quote. I don't think there's one. There's lots of different individuals that I'm inspired by. So, and their quotes often I kind of look at. But I think that for me, what I've learned through the Brahma Kumaris is this sense of Om Shanti. Om Shanti means it's almost like I see a superior soul within you. So for me, I think those two words are really, really important, and they form part of my meditation. They form part of how I want to look at people. So by starting a conversation with Om Shanti, it's almost like acknowledging that what you're seeing in that individual is their pure soul. So that those two words, I guess, are, they're not quotations, but they are actually a way of life, really, for me.
And what languages do those words come from?
So those come from, so I'm a Hindu, but they're Sanskrit words.
Very nice. You must give me the whole spelling so I can look it up.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I think it draws back again to seeing the inner parts of us, because we just see, you know, our skin, our hair, but the inner soul is so important. I think connecting with people on that level is very important. I think that's what I've appreciated for meeting you, is truly connecting with your mind. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things we can do on this earth, is connecting with different people on that level. I was going to say to you, in this moment in life of your semi-retirement, semi-doing everything amazing, what are you currently motivated by in this age of, or this decade in your life?
I suppose, but for me, it's kind of when I was 49, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and for me, that was a kind of turning point in my life. So I felt from that moment that actually we don't know how much time that we have as individuals. So for me, it was, the motivation from then has been that you've got to live the best life that you can. Obviously, there are constraints to everything, and I don't mean in a materialistic way at all. But it's about using the time that I have to kind of add value to people around me, to my community, to society, and actually to work towards making a difference. So part of, you know, the semi-retirement that I've taken recently is one, to kind of have the space to be able to do that, and not but also be there for my children as well, but also to provide the space to kind of do the work that I want to do. I feel that I want to go into a more leadership type position where I can influence decision making at a senior level within organisations. So what I want to do with the time that I've got now is to sit on boards, or to sit on you know, organisations at that level, and to be able to contribute my thinking to organisations, but also to do more work in my community. So I already have been working with a carers group for the last 4 or 5 years, and this is a group of Asian carers. And what I haven't been able to do is to kind of dedicate a lot of time to that particular group. And so what I want to do is to kind of, I suppose, develop that work and make it part of more meaningful for me, and contribute more to that, but also to link that to other things that I want to do in the community as well.
Oh, absolutely amazing. This leads me wonderfully to the next question. It's all about legacy. And I think when I was younger, I think I was like around 14 years old, I remember attending a seminar, and the guy speaking, he said, I know you guys are all 14 years old, but who do you want to be when you're 40 like me? Where do you want to be in life? And he said, imagine yourself as a 40-year-old and just think about what you need to do to get to that point. And I think from that age, I've been very conscious about the choices that you have to make to be in a certain place. And it's about all that building that legacy. You know, I'm not only thinking about 40, because that's coming really close for me right now, but thinking about 80, 90, maybe 100 years old. You know, what do I want to have left behind? What is every decade of my life going to present to the world? So what is your, you know, ideal legacy? You know, you're working towards a lot of things, but when you leave this earth, how will this world be better through you?
So what I'd like is to have 3 very well-grounded children that I leave behind. So I hope that part of my legacy is, just as I've taken inspiration from my parents, that they will take inspiration from me in terms of how they interact with people that they come across, whether that's, you know, within their own family or their network of friends or people in the community, and actually having that respect at that soul conscious level for people. So that's really important for me, is that would be a legacy for me. The other is in terms of the work that I'm doing in the community. I hope that you know, what I plan to do will leave a legacy, and will have a longer term impact. So one of the things that I wanted to do through the carers group is to set up locally a city-wide forum for carers. And one of the reasons for doing that is because I feel that individuals should be empowered in terms of shaping and designing services that impact on them. So I'm working with I'm hoping to work with the chief executive of the CCG locally, and also you know, the hospital and other public sector organisations, to create this forum across the city. And I'm hoping that if that transpires, then individuals who are carers, who've had lived experiences, will be actually influencing the design and the way services are delivered, because it's only through that we can actually get things right. And I hope that inspires those organisations then to work with others in that same way. So when we talk about equality or diversity or inclusion, it's actually from the perspective of individuals impacted by, you know, whatever services that are being provided. So that would be wonderful if I could achieve that.
Oh, you definitely will. I know that there are some current events and projects that you're working on that will be happening this month. Would you be happy to share it with us, you know, what's coming up and how, you know, people could support you in a different project that you're doing?
Sure. So a couple of things that I'm doing. So an old colleague of mine, Devonte Curry, is hosting some events on vaccine hesitancy, and a lot of people will be aware that there's an issue of vaccine hesitancy amongst Black and Asian minority communities. So there's a series of panel conversations that are taking place, and I'm kind of supporting one of the panels to talk about vaccine hesitancy from kind of an Asian perspective and from my kind of lived experience. So that's something that's happening. I'm trying to remember the date for that. I've forgotten, but
the 9th of June?
9th of June, that's it. So that's on the 9th of June. And there's other work that I've got planned with Devonte kind of going forward as well. The other thing that as you mentioned earlier, on the 17th of June, we've got the Peace After Violence event, which is primarily talking to public sector leaders like the Chief Constable, an Assistant Mayor from Leicester, and also the Chief Executive from University Hospitals Leicester, along with you know, local charities, and also individuals with lived experience of domestic violence, to really talk about and get a shared understanding of you know, what is working within the service sector in regards to supporting people who've gone through violence, but also to look at how those organisations could work jointly, but with those having had lived experience, to kind of change the support and the services that are provided, so that longer term people feel. So whilst they've been through this experience of, which is quite tragic and traumatic, is to kind of support those individuals. Because one of the things that I kind of found from my own experiences that domestic violence isn't just the physical abuse that you experience. There's aspects which are, when we talk about financial abuse, they also talk about the emotional impact of violence. So that kind of trauma, I believe, is almost like post-traumatic stress disorder, and I'd like to see that recognised where people have experienced domestic violence, and for that to be supported longer term, because I don't think there's a quick fix for people who experience that domestic violence. There needs to be longer term support for those individuals, especially with the post-traumatic stress that they experience, and that kind of triggers in different situations that they might be in. But also, what I'd like to do is for employers to kind of talk about domestic violence, and actually for that to be another place where women can get support, so that if they are having difficulties in their personal life, that actually in the workspace that domestic violence is understood, and that those individuals experiencing it are actually supported by the organisation, so that that their situation isn't compounded by what happens at work, but actually they get support, or they get signposted to services, or they get mental health support, whatever it might be that an individual needs.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. It's an amazing project that you're working on, and hopefully a few of us can support that. We have listeners from the United States, Germany, UK, all listening. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world. Some of these projects you can participate from Zoom, so anyone can get involved. So Shilpa, something that you said earlier about going through breast cancer. Sometimes I find people have gone through big, I would say traumatic and life-changing things. There seems to be like this motivation to live life the fullest, and like you said, live your best life. For people who don't have those things happening in their lives, it's pretty monotone, I would say. How would you reignite that fire that is lit within you?
I suppose you shouldn't wait for an event like that for to live your best life. I guess it's looking at. I see so much inspiration around me, but people who have been through difficult situations, but also those that haven't. But they've invested their time and their energy in terms of supporting people and lifting them out of difficult spaces. I think it does help if you've got experience, because then you have the empathy to kind of support individuals. But I always feel that we all have only a certain number of days, I'm not sure what it is, but I think it's about 1,700 and something days on average on this earth. And actually, if you kind of think about that, how many days is that? So I'm not sure if that figure's right, but if you estimate that the average age is about 74, 75, how many days is that? And I think if you were wanting to leave something as a legacy, it's the best time to start is now, really, isn't it? Because you've got more time to kind of leave that legacy.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for that. Earlier this week or last week, a question was asked of me: if you could meet anyone in this life, someone who inspires you, who would that be? A living person, we'll start off with. A living person who would inspire
you. A living person.
Yeah.
I think if it was a living person, it would be Barack Obama.
Yes. I said Michelle, so we could have a double day with them.
Yes.
Oh, amazing. What about Barack Obama inspires you?
Oh, I think that he's a wonderful orator, and when he also has a way of engaging people, which I kind of not envy. Sometimes I do. I wish I could. But he has a wonderful way about him, and he engages people at from all backgrounds, at all levels, and also he seems to be really passionate about what he wants to achieve, and he obviously has a great legacy as well. So he really inspires me, and yeah, that I'd love to meet him.
Amazing. And if he's listening, we never know who the listener in the United States is. What would you say to him? What would you say to Barack Obama if he's listening right now?
He's yeah, please connect with me. I don't shy away from that.
I know.
I'm a Twitter troll. Is that what they call it? So I connect with everybody on Twitter and on Instagram, and and in fact, I'm surprised when I actually do get a reply back from famous individuals. Yeah, that just gives me that little bit of motivation on that day.
Thank you. And if anyone in history that inspired you, you can meet them, who would it be?
I'm not sure in terms of history. I'm not sure. I think that there's so many individuals that have kind of inspired me over when I read about them. So I'm not sure there's one individual, but I guess the usual individuals like Mahatma Gandhi. I'd love to meet Nelson Mandela. So again, those are individuals that that have I've been inspired by, because I feel that they're I'm in tune with their values and beliefs about equality, diversity, and inclusion.
Yes. Oh, thank you. So as we're coming close to the end of the show today, the show is all about tapping into your greatness. So how have you tapped into your greatness? If you could describe that in a sentence. I have tapped into my greatness through, yeah, that's you.
I guess I tap into my greatness through my faith, and through meditation, because I feel that by having that practice on a daily basis, it can kind of motivate me. It can give me clarity, and it can take me into that space.
Oh, beautiful. You know what, Shilpa, I have absolutely loved your presence today on the program. This is my first episode of many to come. So thank you for being here today and enlightening us, and sharing that soul of yours. That's so beautiful. I hope all of you enjoyed today and tap into your greatness every week with me here on the show, Mondays from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. in the UK time. So thank you for joining in. Thank you for those who are listening at home from different countries. And we hope to have many more guests. And like Shilpa said, she's got a couple of events on the 9th and on the 17th, which I'll be linking on my Instagram. So keep up with me, and I'll see you next week. Thank you so much, Shilpa.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Tatiana. It's been wonderful.
You're welcome. Thank you.